we'll call this meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everyone to the December 17th meeting of the Mayor and Council of the City of Roswell. I have a young man here with the Boy Scouts. I'd like to invite him forward to lead us in the pledge. If we'd all stand and face the flag. Young man, come forward. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you'd come to the microphone and introduce yourself and tell us what brings you here.
Hi, I'm Paul Rourke, and I'm from Troop 87.
And what brings you here tonight, Paul?
I'm working on the Communications Merit Badge.
Well, good. It's good to have you here. Councilman Orleans and I were both Boy Scouts. I was a member of Troop 87 in Eagle there, and we're proud to have you here tonight. Let's have a hand for this young man who's done a good job tonight. Thank you, sir. We have a recognition here for River Eves Elementary School for earning the highest performing award. We have Representative River Eves here tonight. Mr. Pinnock, if you'd come forward, we'd like to give you credit for your great work. And if you would tell us some more about this award, we'd appreciate it.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you for recognizing River Eves Elementary School. Well, Georgia Department of Education recognizes all the Title I schools in the state of Georgia, and they have a special award this year. It's called the Highest Performing, the Top 5%, and there were 78 schools in the state that were recognized, and River Eves was one of 2 Fulton County schools that received the Highest Performing Award, and the other school was a charter school in South Fulton, so we're very proud to represent the city of Roswell and Fulton County schools with this honor.
And we are proud to have you tonight. Can you tell us how you achieved that distinction? We'd all like to know.
Well, if you look at these 4 teachers we have here, that's how we achieve our academic accolades. Of course, as a principal, I provide the resources and some leadership, but I can tell you that the primary leadership comes through the classrooms. And we hold our students to high standards. We check their performance weekly, and then we always offer enrichment for those students who are doing well, and then support for those students who need more time.
Well, on behalf of the City of Roswell, I want to thank you. Schools are a fundamental part of being a great community. You cannot attract good citizens without good schools. So not only are you helping those students in their future efforts, you are helping the City of Roswell today by what you're doing, and we're going to continue to brag about you and the Fulton County school system. Let's have a hand for River Eves. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Councilman Orleans wants a photograph with y'all. Come back, please. Councilman Orleans is demanding a photograph with these distinguished citizens. So if you'll stand in front of here, the council would love to get their photograph made with you. Council, let's follow Councilman Orleans down.
Here? Yeah, No, his friend. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Whoever does your
Congratulations, great job.
PR is amazing because we actually know.
Let me get behind somebody. I can get behind you. This works. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Next, it's Christmas time, so I know that it's time to read a proclamation for the Chipper, which takes care of our Christmas trees after the Christmas season. And this is a production of Keep Roswell Beautiful. But I'm afraid that for the first time, Chipper has the flu and he's not here tonight. We usually have a visit from Chipper. So no photo op for you guys if you're not bringing a Chipper. Whereas recycling reduces the waste stream, thus saving dollars and improving our environment. And whereas Keep Roswell Beautiful in the City of Roswell is committed to reducing the waste stream, thus helping the state of Georgia reach a per capita waste disposal reduction goal. And whereas the Keep Roswell Beautiful Foundation, Davey Tree Expert Company, Home Depot, and WXIA Television are sponsoring the 22nd year of Bring One for the Chipper Christmas Tree Recycling Program. And whereas this program promotes the recycling of Christmas trees into usable materials and provides Roswell residents, schools, and business easy access to drop-off sites and free mulch. And whereas in 2012, 164,806 trees were collected across the state of Georgia, and over 8,000 trees were collected and recycled through this program in the City of Roswell. Now, therefore, I, Jerry Wood, Mayor of the City of Roswell, do hereby proclaim Sunday, January 5th, 2013, as Bring One for the Chipper Day in Roswell, and invite all of our residents to participate. And if you could come forward and give them some more details on where and how they can participate on January 5th. Thank you, Ron Jackson.
Yes, sir. And that's Saturday, the 5th of January. This is a wonderful time of the year. This is a time of lights and activities and parties, seasonal things, but it's also the beginning. We need to be thinking about a very important activity, and that's Bring One for the Chipper. That's Saturday, January the 5th, between 9 and 4. And we invite you all to bring your trees to one of the Home Depots in Roswell. This is the 23rd year that we've done this. Now, you think about recycling trees, there's a couple of reasons to do that. It saves a bunch of landfill space. But more than that, it saves Roswell taxpayers a lot of money in collecting and disposing of those trees. Now, the locations, as you know, they're the Home Depots. The east side, Home Depot's 1580 Holcomb Ridge Road on the other side of the bridge. And over there, Keep Roswell Beautiful Board will be staffing that, along with some of our youth folks. The Centennial High School Key Club and the Centennial High School Environmental Club will be over there. That's 1580 Holcomb Bridge on the other side of 400. On the west side, which is at 870 Woodstock, the Kiwanis Club of Historic Roswell will be staffing that one, along with the Roswell High School Key Club and the Beta Club and the National Honor Society on the west side. The sponsors of these activities will include, of course, the Home Depot, Starbucks, Super Target, 11 Alive, and the Davey Tree Experts. Now, let me share with you about Davey Tree Experts. They'll have free mulch. So if you want a truckload of mulch, and be aware it's going to be a truckload, call those folks. If you go to roswellkiwanis.org, there's an order form on there, and they'll bring you a truckload. And it's pretty good mulch. This is, as I mentioned, the 23rd year. It's going to be Saturday, January the 5th, from 9 to 5. So we're looking forward to that, and we hope everybody will come out. And we hope we have some city council people that come. You can come for 5 minutes, and we'll take a picture. But come out to the activity, because it's really kind of a neat activity.
Thank you. Let's have a hand for the Chipper and Keep Roswell Beautiful. And next, I'd like to call upon Ken Eigelhart, who brought this resolution forward to us, and with assistance of Councilmember Price, who's got some photographs that might share with us. Councilman Eigelhart, you have a proposal for us.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I think we've all been touched by what was begun by Fire Chief Spencer in getting us to be able to help the village of Island Park. We've called it a city, but the village of Island Park in New York, they're one of the ones that was impacted by Superstorm Sandy, into which we donated one of our surplus fire trucks. And then some have been involved, others in different ways. We've all probably seen some pieces of it. That the folks up there have just been so happy with the help we've given, expressed so much gratitude. We've heard things from those folks, we've heard things from people in Roswell, we've heard things from people from all around the country. And so Dr. Price went and saw them a couple weeks ago, and I'm going to see them the week after Christmas, and thought it'd be neat if we could actually expand, I guess, the relationship and try and build on it between our two cities, and that we can continue to support those folks as they try to rebuild over time. So this is a resolution to try and establish them, or to establish them as a sister city from this point forward. And there are some pictures, I think, that Dr. Price can tell us about, and I'll have some more in January.
Yes, I had the good fortune to be in the New York area last Sunday, and I thought, well, it's raining, what else could I do? Let's just go out to Island Park. So got on the Long Island Railroad, went out to try to find them. It was kind of an adventure, and found them all at the fire department. There were quite a few of them there, considering the town is only 7,000 people. There were at least 10 or so people around, and this fellow is marking with his hand the high water mark of how high the water came during the hurricane, which was fairly sobering. And behind him you can see the truck, our truck, with this name Roswell still on it, but they're contemplating whether or not they will paint it off. And there were a few of them there that were quite surprised to see me. First of all, they couldn't imagine that I could find them, and second of all, they couldn't imagine why I would want to. But anyway, it was just a great time. They were, we felt like we were old friends after about half an hour chatting with them. And this was taken across the street, and you can see the flag over top of their 3 bays. It's a small department and just one location for all 3 of their trucks. And one of them, the electrical system was ruined because of that high water, and it was out in a sort of a scrapyard. So it was a great chance to visit with them. I wrote a little story about it because I was so taken with the experience. And as I came home, I was writing this article on the railroad and said, I feel like they're our sister city now. And unbeknownst to me, at the very same moment, Councilman Eichelhart was writing a resolution that we should become sister cities. So I guess great minds think alike or something like that, but there is certainly a bond between our cities, and some of them are planning to visit here over the Christmas holidays, which will be kind of neat too. They mostly wanted to come see the Big Chicken, but they said they would be dropping in to see us as well. So it was a great experience, and I'm just glad that the chief gave us this opportunity to reach out to the folks of Island Park and to forge a new relationship between our cities. Thank you.
Just one last thing. It's been interesting in trying to talk with these folks because their city hall is now a trailer out in the parking lot, and they use satellite phone for the most part. So actually talking to them has always been interesting because it cuts off, and we've had to do cell phone things back and forth. That sometimes they get service, they don't. You get messages back and forth. So it certainly shows the challenges that they're going through. So I had hoped to have some things that we could perhaps donate in addition to them, but frankly that's not their number one priority, is trying to get us information to the things that we can give. But hoping in the future that we'll continue to work with them, and there are things they need both for their schools, because they were damaged as well, for their library. There are all kinds of things that they will continue to need.
Councilor Lager, do you have a motion?
Can I just say one more thing? What struck me also, a number of these fellows had lost their homes, and there was not a lack of joy in their spirits and hearts and words. And in this holiday season, it was just very touching that they still felt like they were more fortunate than other people, even though their houses had been destroyed. So it was a great lesson in what's important, because with the warnings that we now get with these storms, we're able to protect our physical person, if not our property. And they were all extremely grateful that they had suffered no family losses or anything like that. And they, with great spirit and energy, were going about rebuilding their homes. So it was quite inspiring.
So I would like to move that we approve a resolution to have Village of Island Park, New York, become a sister city with the city of Roswell.
Motion by Councilman Eichelhart. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Price. All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion by Councilman Orleans. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Eichelhart. Does anyone in the audience have any questions on the consent agenda? Any further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. This time we'll call upon Councilmember Eichelhart, liaison to the Environmental Public Works Department.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First agenda item is for the approval to sign a contract with Jacobs Engineering for the engineering, design, and construction services for the water plant, not to exceed the amount of $1,234,000, with a total with contingencies of $1,357,400. We'll let Mr. Moore tell us more, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you. This is the culmination of a long effort to do preliminary engineering and development relative to our water plant construction. We followed the qualifications-based selection process established by the American Public Works Association. We had originally 6 firms who submitted qualifications. 3 firms were shortlisted, and we received proposals and presentations by those firms. The selection committee unanimously selected Jacobs Engineering Group to undertake this engineering, design, and construction oversight. Jacobs may be more familiar to many people in the Atlanta area as JJ&G, formerly Jordan, Jones & Golding. They have been a fixture in the engineering community, heavily involved in water and sewer system design work. The qualifications-based selection process highlighted several key factors. Number one, Jacobs has unexceeded qualifications in the design and operation of water treatment plants. All 3 of our finalist firms had excellent credentials, but Jacobs has much greater breadth and considerable involvement on the operations side as well as design. Secondly, they have an excellent team of landscape architects who have contracted over the years with the Roswell Recreation Department for master plans, trail development, and so forth. Matt Kane, who will be the lead landscape architect on this project, has personally had a great deal of work and was heartily recommended by Joe Glover, the director of the Recreation Department. The firm also has an exceptional team of public affairs, public involvement specialists. You know that we have had a great deal of interest from the community about this project, and this team will help us to elicit the information and find ways to best meet the needs of the community with this project. And I will say that the team has, or excuse me, the Jacobs has proposed a project schedule that will allow us to meet our requirements under our state water withdrawal permit, that will bring us to construction, bidding, and so forth in probably October to November of 2013, in advance of our December the 2nd deadline to be underway. For those reasons, staff recommendation is to contract with Jacobs Engineering Group. The estimated not to exceed amount is $1,234,000. However, allowing for contingencies both in the design process or external to that and other activities, we recommend approval of a budget amendment in the amount of $1,357,400, and I recommend that for your consideration.
Are they going to be looking at the best site for this tower? I know there are a lot of discussions of the site. Are they going to be looking at alternate sites?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. They will consider the alternatives that are available. They have studied the record and Elias and David, the two lead designers, are here tonight. They were here for the committee meeting and they heard input from neighborhood people. They have committed to a special workshop meeting during January to hear input from the community to find the optimum solution that will satisfy both technical needs and the needs of the community. So they will evaluate several alternatives and help us to discern the best solution to move forward with that.
So the council will not be voting on a specific site tonight?
That's correct. This is not about a specific site. This is to select the designers. The concept plan that has been prepared was preliminary. A great deal of that work has pretty much pointed things in a direction, but has not been finalized. That will be taking place during January and February.
Will there be additional public hearings before this council finalizes a location?
The intention, Mr. Mayor, is to have a special called work session on January 28th from 5 to 7 p.m. We've already talked with Julie and her staff about publicizing that so that everybody has an opportunity to be aware of it and submit their comments or attend in person.
Does the council have any questions? Do we have a motion?
I'm going to make a motion to approve, but just to clarify, we will allow public comment after the motion.
Yes, sir.
And then what this does, and I think we said this last week, we had such a long discussion last week, but that our new group, Jacobs, will have fresh eyes to bring to this process.
Yes.
And so while they'll certainly take the input that has come to this point, they will be considering all these things.
Yes.
So just to make clear for everyone here that we aren't, as the mayor just said, we're not approving a specific site, and as part of this process that will be determined. So we'll make a motion to approve this contract.
Is there a second? Second. Motion by Councilman Iglehart, second by Councilman Orleans. This time we'll hear public comment. Again, the issue for tonight is not the location of the site. There'll be another hearing for this. The issue tonight is the approval of the engineering firm. So if you'd like to address this engineering firm and its qualifications or whether this project should be approved, we'll hear from you, but the purpose is not to discuss the location of the site. That's not what we're here to decide. I see no hands up. Yes, sir. I see a hand up now.
Thank you. And I'm going to be very brief and address the point that you've said. I just wish Mayor Wood, council members, and also members of staff, Ms. Love, and the staff of the Public Works and Recreation and Parks Department. I'm just coming up here to say thank you on behalf of myself personally and our community of Grimes Bridge Parkways. As you look out, excuse me, throat's a little dry. So you look out in the gallery here, all the folks wearing green ribbons here tonight are members of our community. And I just would like to tell you that we're very grateful to you for giving us this ongoing opportunity to express our concerns and hopefully have them resolved as this project continues to proceed. We hope that you'll continue to work with us, both council and staff, and capture this opportunity to help leave Waller Park and its extensions, which is kind of a mouthful, by the way, permanently improved and protected for the benefit of our community, the park users, and the city as a whole. And I'd like to say again, I've said it a number of times, but here on record, I'd like to make sure that you all know we appreciate your hard work to make this city a great place to live, and especially to you and the rest of your staff. We really appreciate the hard work that you do to make sure that those of us as water customers have good, clean water to drink. We very much appreciate it and are looking forward to continuing this conversation. Thank you very much.
Before you sit down, if you'll give your name and address for the record.
Absolutely, Mr. Wood. Mr. Mayor, my name is Seth Friedman, and I live at 285 Meadowwood Drive, and I'd just like to say thanks again.
Look forward to seeing you and all the other folks here on January 28th.
Likewise. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone else wish to speak? Yes, sir. Come forward, please. No, sir. I'm not trying to be difficult. We do keep a public record, and we record this, and it would be hard to record you from way back there. So if you'll give us your name and address, we'd love to hear from you.
Okay, my name is Corey Fair. I live at 375 Stonebridge Trail. The question I have is, your cost estimates, do they include evaluating how many sites? I'm assuming the engineering firm is going to have a say about the different sites. You said they were going to look at multiple sites. So does the estimate include looking at half a dozen sites, 2 sites, 1 site?
Please proceed, if you have an answer.
There are the site for the water plant has been pretty much resolved to be on the existing footprint of the current water plant. What is in question is the location of the 10 million gallon water storage tank. There are 2 primary locations that are under consideration. However, they will not limit themselves to those, but those are the 2 primary ones that are of concern. But they will evaluate the area, but I mean, they're not going to look 2 miles away or something like that. They will look in the vicinity of the water plant and give us the best determination of an optimum location.
And the costs for doing that are included?
Yes, sir. That's a lump sum cost for the design.
Thank you, sir. Does anyone else wish to have any questions or comments? Yes, sir. Come forward, please.
My name is Jim Hardy. I live at 130 Shadowbrook Drive, Roswell, Georgia. It's just off Grimes Bridge. Mine's really just a question of clarification as to whether or not our involvement in this, is this an iterative process, or are we just going to find out what they decide near the end of January? We've gone to a couple of these other meetings thinking that we were going to have a discussion, and it ended up being more listening to what decision had been made. So how do we have this interchange such that the 28th decision reflects everybody?
That you have tonight, but it will be the location of the plant. You will have an opportunity to be heard. You will have you have an opportunity. Do they have an opportunity to be heard prior to the January 28th? And if so, how would that be?
Yes, sir. Anybody can submit comments to us by telephone, by letter, by email.
So my question is there going to be a meeting prior to the 28th so we can talk with them,
no, sir.
give them the input, and then have the results decided?
There will be a work session on the 28th. There will not be a vote on the 28th. The 28th is to hear comments. There would be, if the council's ready to move it forward, they may or may not be ready forward. If they're ready to make a decision, or they believe they have all the information they need to make a decision, it would then go to council for a decision. So the purpose of the work session is to hear comment. There'll be discussion. There'll be a council meeting following that in which there'll be also further public comment, and a vote would be taken. I'll call for motion at the council meeting.
Sure. I would disagree with that. I don't think we're intending to vote on this on the 28th.
No, the 28th is a work session. That's not a vote.
And we're still discussing, in fact, once they're actually under contract, how we would make that meeting go forward. But we've talked about whether we'll have some boards about the options, and we can have discussions, and just how exactly.
So I guess my question is, will the decision, at least their recommendation decision, have been made by the 28th?
No.
Or will that be when we give them our input?
Correct. That's what that meeting
during the month before.
That's what that meeting is for, is to have that chance to have that discussion. Correct.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Other questions or comments from the floor? Yes, come forward, please.
Hi, I'm Lorraine Cowan. I live at 165 Shadowbrook Drive. Just a quick question. The plans I saw online were what was proposed, but since we all are kind of concerned about it, I'm wondering, are there plans drawn up, or are there going to be plans drawn up for alternatives? Because I didn't see alternative plans.
Mr. Moran, can you answer that question?
Yes, sir. I'm happy to. The plans that are existing today, that's a concept plan. We had a standby engineering firm that worked with us, considered a variety of factors, including community input, geotechnical factors, and so forth. So that is a concept plan, and a selection was made. For the meeting on January 28th, my expectation would be that would be presented along with other alternatives that were considered, but the Jacobs will not be preparing anything new. They will be there to listen, glean information from which to develop a preliminary plan that they will work on through February.
The maps that you have that shows where the plant is being proposed, is there going to be other maps drawn up to show the other proposals that...
If you come to the microphone, please, the council can't hear you.
Sorry. I'm wondering, I've seen the maps with the current proposal. I'm just wondering if there's going to be other maps that are also drawn up so that the community can look at them, have a visual, just as there is that's being proposed currently.
What as I mentioned previously, the site plan for the water plant itself does not seem to be in an item of concern. It really has to do with the tank. So there is a preferred location, or let's say the staff recommendation for the tank location. There were two alternatives for that were considered, and those are already on existing drawings. Those would certainly be available. I can't say definitively that they are.
They could be open so that we can look at them also?
That's not
They are
gonna be-
available. If Mr. Moore, can you put those online?
Yes, sir.
We'll put them online.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? For those folks who are interested in council, I encourage you to stay on. For those folks who may have some things to get ready for Christmas after the vote is taken, don't feel, if you leave, do not have the conversation out in the hall until the doors are closed. So, any further discussion by council? Councilman DiPolito.
As I mentioned in our committee meeting, I see this as an opportunity for us to make some improvements to the park and to really start thinking about what do we want the future of this park to be. So it would be great to have that public input as you all are thinking about not just the water plant, think about the park in general, and what do you see the future of the park to be? What would you like it to be? Because right now it has a great function. There are some wonderful fields in it. It serves a great purpose. We have the adult rec center there. It's really fabulous. I think it can be more, and we'd love to hear from you about your thoughts about what could this be and how could it really be a wonderful centerpiece for the community.
Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. This time we'll call upon Recreation and Parks Department Liaison, Councilmember Jerry Orleans.
Item 5 on our agenda tonight is approval for the mayor and our city administrator sign a contract with Wright Mitchell and Associates for architectural and engineering services for the design of the adult rec center and therapeutic pool facility in an amount not to exceed $253,180. And this will be presented by not Mr. Glover, Mr. Pruitt.
Thank you, Mr. Orland, Mayor and Council. Department feels that this is a new contract with the same architectural engineer firm that we used on Phase 1 of the Adult Recreation Center Fitness Center. We feel this is an extension of the existing contract. However, it will be all new, and we recommend approval for the $253,180 for the Phase 2, which includes the therapeutic pool facility, which is a reimbursement from the Capital Projects Fund.
So this was the project that was approved by a referendum of the voters?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Orleans, do we have a motion?
Move for approval of item 5 as read.
Motion for approval of the architects. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Wynn. Any further? At this time, we'll ask for comments from the floor. Any questions or comments about the architect? Hiring of this architect. If you'd like to come forward, I need to see a hand up. Seeing no hands up, public discussion is closed. Further questions or comments by council? Councilmember Eichelhardt.
Just the same point as the previous, that this obviously impacts the Waller Park as well and the road part there, or I should say the entrance there. So that will be a discussion as well on the design, but obviously there's only one way to get to that element, and there are other reasons for it besides just the access and public safety. But those of you who were at the committee meeting last week heard some of that discussion, but we'll have continuing discussions about that. This does not make that decision.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? Councilmember DiPolito.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question. I know the facility includes a therapeutic pool and some dressing rooms. Are there other facilities within this building? Or other activities that are going to take place within this building?
Just restroom facility, primarily the therapeutic aspect, includes the elevator and ADA access from the original Phase 1 facility on the back side.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any further discussion before we take a vote? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. Yes, question, Councilmember Price.
Has it been determined that an elevator is part of the plan?
In conceptual plans, yes, ma'am, we have to have. It hasn't been finalized in conceptual plan that we used for the bond, open house public meetings, display the connection from the fitness area down below up to the new Phase 2.
I'd just like to express my opinion that access to the pool would be adequate from the opening on Grimes Bridge, and certainly we can have stairs or some other way to get up and down to get back and forth, but I don't know that an elevator is necessary. And I don't know that we've had that discussion. I just hate to see designs for that, and then we determine that we can't afford that, and then we have to redesign it or what have you. But I would hope that that decision is made early before we expend a lot of time and expense designing an elevator that we may or may not find necessary.
Yes, ma'am.
I share the same concerns, and I've expressed those to Mr. Glover. Other comments? We have a motion and a second. All in favor of the motion? Passes unanimously. This time we'll return to Councilmember Eichelhardt. Liaison to Public Safety. Public Works Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The next agenda item is approval to execute an easement agreement with Georgia Power for granting underground construction access on 2 city well water building parcels to supply electrical service, and Mr. Wolf's going to tell us about that.
Thank you, Councilman Eichelhardt. Mayor and Council, this item is an approval to execute an easement agreement with Georgia Power in relation to electrical service to our water well and control building sites along Willio Road. These easements are not transferring any property, they're just allowing Georgia Power to access them for maintenance and repair activities. The Public Works Environmental Department and the legal staff have reviewed this agreement and recommend approval.
Does the council have any questions? What is the location of these 2 city well water buildings, just for the audience? And where is the well located, and where are these buildings located?
The well is located south of well, they're both along Willio Road. One is north of the highway, and one is south of the highway. One's right there on the corner of Willio and State Highway 120. The other one is south, about maybe a quarter mile.
And these are to serve that artesian well which we drilled, which would supplement the Roswell water system.
Right. One side is the well itself. The other side is the filter and pump building.
Any other questions by council? Do we have a motion?
Move to execute the easement agreements.
Motion by Councilmember Eichelhardt. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Diamond. Was that Diamond? All right. Anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Any further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. This time we'll call upon Recreation and Parks Department, Councilman Jerry Orleans. I don't know how I got this so mixed up.
Okay, item 7 on the agenda is approval for the mayor and/or city administrator to sign a contract with Center Brothers, Inc. to replace the bocce ball courts at the Adult Rec Center in the amount of $30,000, and approval of budget amendment number 555-62000-12-17-12 in the amount of $30,000. And again, Mr. Pruitt.
Thank you, Mr. Orleans. Again, we have a very mature, I will not use the word senior group, that is very, yes ma'am, very active in, they call it the Italian Bocce League. And their court that they donated time, effort, and money had to be relocated per se to have the phase one of the fitness center. So we worked with them. We temporarily in-house built them I wouldn't call it a regulation bocce court, but they're right now they're very happy in the upper area of just adjacent to the handball court above the adult recreation center. So plans while we constructed phase one included the additional 3 bocce courts as you pull into Groundsbridge Park on the left-hand side. They were submitted originally, permitted originally, and funding is $30,000 from the Recreation Participation Fund in the amount of $30,000.
Do we have a motion?
Move for approval of item 7 as read for the bocce ball courts.
A motion by Councilman Orleans. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Wynn. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments about the bocce ball court? Yes, sir. Come forward. If you will give us your name and address for the record, and then proceed, please.
Thank you for the reminder up front that time. I'm Seth Friedman, 285 Meadowwood Drive. I thought this was the better opportunity to address you about some of the concerns about asset relocation within Waller Park. So many agenda items having to do with Waller Park tonight. First of all, just as an aside that I kind of alluded to in the last comment, it would be great if we could, as a community and as a city, come up with one name that we could put on this whole park complex. It is one of our 6 district parks. I think you see now that our community is greatly concerned with it. You probably haven't heard a ton from us in the past, at least not in recent years, but as you are now hearing, it'd be great for us to have an easy way to address this particular district park as one unit rather than Waller Park and its extensions and Grimesbridge Park, just as a note. As to do with the asset issue...
Regarding that point...
Yes, sir.
If your neighborhood has any recommendations, I think we could come up with a better name than Waller Park Extension. Excellent. So we'll make sure that that's a part of our conversations and bring that input to you in a timely manner. Thank you. The bocce court is a very cool asset in that upper location in the park, and we do get to see the mature members of our community who use that, using it regularly. We also use that area for a great number of uses. As you know, there are racquetball courts and tennis courts there. The tennis courts see a lot of use. The racquetball courts, not so much. And I just wanted to bring it to your attention here. We have started a dialogue with Mr. Pruitt and with Mr. Glover regarding some of those concerns, but just want to make sure that you as a council and mayor also know that we have some concerns about that and would appreciate them being addressed through the process as this project carries forward. Let me see if I've got... Do you have concerns about the location of the proposed bocce ball court?
No, sir, but we have concerns about... Actually, we have concerns about relocation of all of the assets that will be affected, including the bocce court.
All right. Mr. Pruitt, when do we think we could hear these concerns in a public hearing format? And could we hear them on the same night to save these folks 2 trips?
Yes, sir, we can.
Would that suit the neighborhood to bring this issue, with the parks question forward on the 28th also?
I can only speak for myself and say that yes, it would suit me.
I think I would also encourage the community prior to that meeting to get with the Rec and Parks and let them know your concerns so they'll be prepared on that night.
Thank you for that suggestion. We'll see to do that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to speak on the bocce ball project? Any further discussion by council? Councilmember Price.
Yeah, I was just concerned about mostly the cost, relatively speaking, and I know we asked the usage, and that information has been provided, and I see that it's an active group and a co-ed group and representing a diverse activity and people participating, but just the same, I was wondering how many courts they are and how they're constructed and how it gets up to $30,000.
Yes, ma'am. Those are 3 courts, concrete area with minimum distance of ADA approval within all 3 courts, as well as surrounding surface to make it safe from parking lot. There's 2 additional ADA handicap parking spaces that will be closest to the curb facing the soccer field, and the curb cut at that point in time with access to the bocce courts. Probably the court closest to the parking lot on that side would be the ADA accessible, where they can get down and have access to reach into the court itself and grasp a ball and roll it and then go to the other end and send it back up the other way.
Okay, so part of this expense is for parking and access as opposed to just the courts themselves?
It's the curb cut area getting to. We have to, any new construction has to meet ADA compliance. So
if the location may vary, then we wouldn't be starting this right away?
The location could vary. There's very limited access from the Adult Recreation Center that the bocce group and the Ramblers would like to see. However, that is open for discussion, as the mayor indicated.
Well, is it premature then to continue or to begin a contract to do this if there's some questions up in the air?
We can certainly approve the contract and then approve the location at a later time.
I guess Councilmember Price's question, which I share, is if we change the scope of the work, if we move from one location to the next and we don't need the curb cut, or we do need the curb cut, or maybe it's more expensive or maybe less expensive, you know, does that create a problem? Because we might change. If we move the location, it's potential we could change the scope of the work. Okay, you need to, if you can answer that question.
Yes, sir. This contract is with one of the city's standby trade vendors that we have and work with. So if there is going to be a discussion regarding relocation or changing the design of the bocce courts, they have priced this based on an area of layout, certain amounts of concrete, because they're mostly concrete, so there's a lot of concrete work. So if there's going to be a lot of change, then it would be in our best interest to wait until we get further direction on the scope of work.
I know we'd like to try to have these bocce courts available when the weather turns nice. So maybe, unless global warming moves up a lot quicker than we hope, even if we postpone this to January, maybe we'll have time to get this for the season. Councilman Owens, how do you feel about a deferral?
Okay, let me ask you a question too. For the discussions on this, would it be better having the firm on contract and be involved in them, or just staff and wait until after the fact?
I think with this, due to the type of construction that it is, and Mr. Pruitt, you correct me if I'm wrong, that it would be very easy to take whatever changes or input and provide to them just due to the nature of the courts. That part would not be complex. They just go out and relook related to the curb cut or access. The courts, the size should not change. It just may be any little prep or site work that would be needed. So I don't think this is where an engineering or design aspect comes into play like it would with maybe a more complex project.
And so we would need to defer it until the first meeting in February, correct?
Correct. If January the 28th is that time for us to get that input so the community doesn't have to come to multiple meetings.
And that would be enough time from then to February?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
we could go directly to council as opposed to back to committee.
Good. Move to defer this until the February meeting.
We have a motion by Councilman Orleans to defer. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Wynn. Any comments from the floor on the motion to defer? All in favor of the motion to defer, raise their hands. Passes unanimously.
Next item on the agenda is approval for the mayor and our city administrator to sign a contract with Johnson Landscapes for the East Roswell Park Trail in the amount of $41,405. Mr. Pruitt.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Orleans. Again, this is a standby trades contractor. The East Roswell Park Trail is the existing soft surface trail that's parallel to Hawkham Ridge Road that ties into Eves Road at the backside of the park. It also goes parallel to Fouts Road down to the what we call the Gibson House, as well as the disc golf course and the community garden and the dog park as well. We have coordinated plans with the library to tie in the existing trail once it's asphalt, and it will also complete the trail that transportation had previously done in a couple budget years ago from Horseshoe Bend down to Fouts Road.
Do we have a motion for approval?
I'll move for approval on item number 8 on the contract for the East Roswell Park Trail.
Motion by Councilmember Orleans. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Wynn. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments regarding the East Roswell Trail? Any further discussion by council? Councilmember Price.
Yes, thank you. At the committee meeting, we asked for extra information, such as the length that this would be involving, and I see that the information provided is that this is $1.69 per linear foot. Can you tell me how a linear foot is defined of a trail?
It's basically the length, and we may need Transportation Director Steve Asenbrack to come explain the engineering term. It's multiplying the square footage by the total yardage. It's very complicated once you hit it on the computer. So I'll call Mr. Asenbrack.
It's just that $1.69 sounded so cheap, I wondered how we got to $41,000.
Linear foot is if you go through the center line of the project and you just take it 1 foot at a time. That's what.
And how wide is this trail?
12 feet wide.
Basically, it's 1 foot by 12 feet.
Correct.
So it's like 12 square feet in this instance.
Well,
roughly, you don't measure it by the square foot, though. You just run a tape down the center line.
Right.
And it could be more or less because it takes turns and twists and turns. But it's roughly...
But 1 foot has 6 feet on either side of it.
Roughly, but it's not... Engineers will tell you it's not exact.
Right. It can vary, but that's what, when we talk about linear feet, it's basically measured down the center line.
Okay, so if you take the 24,000 divided by 5,280 divided by 12, you should come out with how many miles it is?
Is that 41,000 simply for the... Is that the linear foot measure? Any other bills in that?
That's correct.
Right.
So you can divide buck
Exactly.
69 into 41,000, figure how many linear feet.
A quarter mile.
Right.
But don't ask me to do any math.
480 times 1.69.
Quite a... No, yeah, that's the final cost, but...
Are you asking for how many linear feet?
Well, no, that's information been provided to us, but I'm
What
trying...
is your question?
My question is, then how many miles is it?
Oh, convert linear feet to miles. That's... You have to know how many feet in a mile, and I don't know that one.
Well, that's 5,280.
That's why we have you there.
No, that's almost 5 miles.
Put that sideways in.
Oh, then you're talking square feet. Okay, well, we got some units confused here, I think, on this. This is...
Okay.
The 24,000 is square feet, not linear feet.
It's not quite half a mile.
Okay, that's what I calculated out, about .36 or something. Okay, so we're on the same page. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Steve.
Any other questions before we take a vote? Yes, Councilmember DiPolito.
Thank you. Does this trail go through the East Roswell Library property?
No, sir. It will butt up adjacent to the property.
Okay.
The existing library plans have already been conceptualized to tie into that from the library, from existing sidewalks to there.
Right.
Going both ways towards Eves as well as parallel to Fouts.
Will this go south of the library, this trail, or does it go north of it?
Yes. The existing southeast. It will go west parallel from the corner where the big tree is. It's got the tree safe. From there, it'll go to Eves Road and then parallel back towards the back entrance of the park where the future proposed roundabout area and the parking lot is. It will also go parallel to Fouts Road at that point adjacent to where their parking lot's going to start right now. It's a curb cut there, sidewalk along to we developed the soft surface trail approximately 100 yards down Fouts that goes, it's about 12 foot wide, and it goes down to the disc golf course as well as a community garden and the dog park.
The library plan showed a multi-use trail going under a portion of their building, I believe. Does this tie into that trail?
Yes, sir. They want to wrap that same trail that goes parallel to Fouts. They want to tie it in the backside and go underneath the arch that they talked about and then over to the existing trail.
Okay, so they won't need to tear up this trail to do the library plan?
No, sir. Okay. We have an extensive amount of individuals that come through the trail now for school. It's easier for them to cross up there for some reason rather than go down the Scott Road intersection.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Any other questions? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. This time we'll call...
Next item on the agenda.
Oh, next. Yeah, one more item.
Item 9, approval for the mayor and/or city administrator to sign a contract with Pride Roofing for the East Roswell Rec Center solar lighting panels in the amount of $66,000. Mr. Pruitt?
Thank you again, Mr. Orleans. This is a follow-up to the original white membrane roof that we put on the East Roswell Recreation Center in the last budget year. Mayor and Council approved the solar panels for this fiscal year. Council had asked during the committee meeting for additional savings. I think you found that in your packet from an individual company with the 18 skylights in the gymnasium and the 2 in the lobby and the 2 in the other, I guess the fitness room now. We can save almost close to $6,000 in the annual electrical bill. So we asked for approval in the amount of $66,000 for Pride Roofing, who was the firm that was selected through the process for last year's white membrane roof, so as we can maintain our 30-year warranty on the existing roof system.
Does the council have any questions? Councilmember DiPolito.
Thank you. I assume these panels last at least 11 years?
Yes, sir. That's my understanding. I haven't found the exact wording. Once we sign the contract, I've asked for the equipment because there's another brand that the vendor mentioned that has just come out on the market this past year that competes with the, I guess, the Verilight system.
Are we eligible for any sort of a grant or some sort of a refund for using solar?
I've talked with Danny Blitch, our grants coordinator, about that. We also spoke with Caleb about our green initiative, being able to include a lot of that information. It will obviously be the first city building that I'm aware of that don't have any solar-powered lighting.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Councilmember Eichelhardt.
I think I basically had the same question, but on the Roth sheet that shows the payback being 7.4 years, it goes out to 13 years. So is that not the projected life?
I'm assuming it's a 15, actually.
Okay, that was the ultimate question. What is the projected actual life? So we have a long-term.
Yes, sir, but I can get that for sure.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilmember Price.
In the materials provided, it describes that you're not going to make it back if the lights are used during the daytime. So do we plan not to have the lights turned on in the daytime?
Yes, ma'am. We'll have a sensor on them as we do in some of our new facilities where they'll turn on and off, and then during bright days, staff can have the ability to be sure they're turned off so individuals, that enter the gymnasium won't turn it on.
So the plan really is not to have them turned on during the day?
Yes, ma'am. If they're needed, there should be enough light from the solar backup to provide adequate lighting.
And are these in rooms that other than... Now, are these panels relaying light through them, or are they generating electricity with them?
Both. Mainly through them. We have 2 lights out there now, we have 2 skylights, if you would say, right in the lobby area to the adjacent as you enter the gymnasium, and one to the right of the front doors if you come in by the community room. And they basically add direct sunlight in there now. These will also charge the lighting in each gymnasium. Both gymnasiums are covered, as well as the lobby area and the additional area, I guess, to the right of the reception area as you enter from the front of the building.
And are there windows on the sides already?
No, not in the gymnasiums. Just the front of the building has lights, or has
So the gym would probably have to have the lights turned on during the day?
No.
No? All right. The other thing is, in installing those, have we accounted for the increased maintenance to repair leaks at those locations where these are installed?
That's why these have an extended warranty, as well as the company that installed the roof are the same ones that will install the skylights. Thus, we'll have warranty on the roof and the installation of the skylights.
And I'm sorry, what was the length of that warranty again?
I believe it's 15 years.
On any repairs for like leaks?
30 years on the roof, which this would cover underneath if there's any leaks that come around the skylights itself. And I believe the vendor told me it's a 15 on the skylights itself.
And is that with the manufacturer or this company itself?
There's a roofing consultant that the city has used quite frequently. He's not with Veridian now, Roy Weidman, and he's an independent contractor that come out and assesses all the city roofs and prepares a plan of action so we can go back to mayor and council for future repairs and replacements.
I just have to state for the record that I'm not real impressed with the environmental impact that this would save 0.7 acres of trees over I'm not sure what period of time, and the equivalent of removing 0.4 cars from the road for a year. That's not a whole lot. But anyway, if we think that the economic analysis is sound and that we're not going to end up stuck for repairs with a company that we may not be able to find in 30 years, then I guess I'm for it.
Any other questions? Councilmember Diamond.
I just want to make sure I'm not % reduction in costs yearly on this.
That is anticipated.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Are there any other questions? All right, does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? I'm not sure I asked that question before. Any further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. At this time, I'll call upon Councilmember DiPolito, liaison to our Administration and Finance Department.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item is approval to purchase citywide replacement vehicles in the amount of $1,589,695.09. Mr. Fisher.
Thank you, Councilmember DiPolito. This is the annual citywide vehicle replacement program that we do within the city to try to maintain the capital that we've invested in. These are all replacement vehicles. Each one of the vehicles that were bid will be replacing a vehicle that's currently on the road now that has met its useful life. So we will not be adding to the number of vehicles that we already have. You can see there's going to be 50 vehicles that will be replaced in the program this year. It is divided out amongst 5 different dealers that have answered the call to this bid. Maxi Price Chevrolet will be getting 6 pickup trucks and 29 Caprice sedans, which would be the sedans are the ones for the police department if this is approved tonight. Clay Automotive Chevrolet will be getting 2 Tahoe SUVs and 1 administrative sedan. Hardy Chevrolet for 6 pickup trucks and 1 administration sedan that would be coming through them from state contract. Wade Ford has 1 heavy-duty pickup truck and 4 Explorer SUVs, and Chestatee Ford has 1 Explorer SUV. Those were the lowest bids for each one of these different vehicles, and we would request your approval of these purchases, and along with approving the equipment for the vehicles not to exceed the $344,707.
Does the council have any questions? Councilmember Price.
Just one, regarding the cars that they replace, what is the anticipated value of the sale of those vehicles?
That all depends on the condition of the vehicle and what we get. We put those out on GovDeals, which is a national website that works with different governments and gets their surplus from all over the country. It all depends on the supply and demand. I don't have an estimate of what any of the vehicles might bring at any given time. We tend to find that we get the best prices from them, and we don't have to stockpile and do the auction ourselves.
Other questions?
So I mean, okay, this is what, 17 vehicles?
50. Well, not a total of 50, you're right, because, well, no, these will be 50 vehicles that are being replaced, yes, ma'am.
Plus 29.
A total of 50.
50 vehicles. So if they're worth, what, $500 or $1,000? Anyway, we get something back, right?
Absolutely, we do, yes.
And then where does that get accounted for?
That goes back into the city's revenue.
Okay, is there a line item for that?
No, ma'am, it just goes back into the general fund as a revenue into the city.
We don't have to approve that as a budget item.
I'll be looking for it, thank you.
It'll be in there.
Councilmember DiPolito, did you have a question?
I did, thank you, Mr. Mayor. One actually had to do with surplus that you answered, thank you.
Okay.
Would you go over for the audience the criteria that we use to evaluate the cars?
10 years and 100,000 miles for the vehicles.
Okay. Do we have any that exceed the 10 years or 100,000?
Yes, we have quite a few that exceed. The majority of these do. We used to do the criteria based on the mileage or the age. As we have tightened up on our belts, these vehicles have the mileage and the age, at which point we then consider them for replacement based on our talks with the fleet department. So if they're a regular customer and they're in the fleet a lot, we know those vehicles need replaced, we go ahead and replace them.
So they keep close tabs on which ones are costing money to maintain. And, yeah, okay. My last question was on the vehicle equipment. What does that include?
That is primarily for the public safety. That's all of the vehicles to outfit the police cars. Some will be outfitted for patrol vehicles, some will be outfitted for supervisor vehicles, the detectives. And then we have 2 Tahoes. One of those will be outfitted basically for a supervisor-type vehicle, and the other one for a K-9.
Does that K-9 include the new equipment for protection for if the car cuts out?
That's going to be
The locking
installed, but
equipment.
that was donated by a fundraiser that we had, so we don't have to pay
Correct.
for
And
it.
we have that. We already have that.
All right, so that will be installed, it's just not part of this number?
Correct.
Plus, I think Alpharetta donated a cage to us, too, so we don't even have to pay for the cage
Oh, great.
also.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilmember Price.
So what % of our fleet is this replacing right now, this year?
You're asking me how many cars we have total. About 400 vehicles total.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion by Councilmember DiPolito for approval. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Diamond. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Any further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
This time we'll call upon Becky Wynn, Liaison to the Public Safety Department.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an addendum for approval of the IGA for the development and implementation of the unified radio system between Roswell and the other North Fulton cities, and I have Chief Grant and Captain Sweeney.
Thank you. The existing radio system that we have is going to go away. It's maintained by Fulton County, and they do not plan to maintain it much longer. So our plan is we're going to enter into an agreement with Roswell, Alpharetta, Sandy Springs, Milton, and Johns Creek to create a North Fulton radio system. The cost to the city will be $4.2 million. Our share for the amongst the cities is 26.54%. We went into a good bit of detail at the previous meeting. Let me see As you can see, this is the breakdown for the different cities, and it shows the population, the number of radios, and the square miles. All goes into the formula to determine what percent that Roswell has to pay. We've been working on this project, or the city has, in some form for about 5 years, and we've made a lot of progress just in the recent months, and we plan to go forward. And so the issue now is to pass the IGA.
Does the council have any questions? Council, City Administrator Kalov.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to add that this IGA is a short-term vehicle with the goal of moving to create an authority. Legislation will be dropped in the upcoming 2013 legislative session to facilitate that, so that the cities can enter into an authority for the governance and management of the system once it is constructed.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the IGA.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Wynn. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Diamond. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Yes, sir. Come forward, please.
Mr. Mayor, Administrator Love, council members, and staff. My name is Russ Prindle. I'm a longtime resident. I live in 10375 Amberside Court in Willow Springs, and a longtime resident of Roswell, and I'm also area sales manager with Harris Corporation. I had an opportunity to speak and present some information to you at the work session last week, and we would as I mentioned during that session, we and Motorola are the leading providers of these critical communication systems to public safety. We've been competing over a 20-year period head-to-head, and typically in those situations, the agencies and the taxpayers are the ones that benefit when you get the top two industry leaders. And The examples of this throughout Georgia have been Henry County, Spalding County, Newton County, recently Macon and Bibb County, and Floyd and City of Rome have gone out to bid, and they've saved 25 to 30% savings as compared to a typical state contract. So in looking at the pricing that you have in your intergovernmental agreement, it looks like there's 10 to 15% that could be realized by going to a competitive bid process, plus the fact you would have an opportunity to look at another technology. It's a Project 25 technology that you're looking for this system, but it would be looking at the two top vendors in the industry. We just respectfully request that in this intergovernmental agency agreement, you're going out to RFP for a lot of the services that are in that agreement. I think you're going out to bid for the towers as well. And all we're asking is look at going to bid for the radio system equipment. That's a major part of that agreement. But still, you have a competitive bid by the top two vendors in the industry. So that's our request. We think your consultant, Comdex, can put together an RFP in a short period of time. I know you have RFPs coming out for the other services, and we could respond in a quick period of time. We know what the system looks like, and so we appreciate that opportunity. Thank you.
We appreciate your coming here tonight. The problem that I'm having is this is a field in which exceeds my expertise, and I'm getting recommendations from staff to sole source the product because they feel there's a difference in the product. If we didn't have that recommendation from staff that the products were equal, it'd be a simpler question for us. But our staff, and not just our staff, but Johns Creek and Sandy Springs and Alpharetta and Milton have all concurred. So it's not just this council decision and this staff, it's a concurrence of all of those. So I am not confident in second-guessing a decision by someone who I trust and has a lot more experience and knows what they need. I mean, I'm not going to tell these policemen to get a 9mm or a .38 because I don't know. And so I'm not in a position to judge whether they should get a Harris or a Motorola. Having said that, I'm not comfortable in second-guessing the Motorola, and if you were selling Motorola and they were selling Motorola, it would be easy for me to say, let's get a bid, but because you're selling a product which is not recommended by staff, I can't support it. Not because I don't believe in a competitive market, and not because I don't want to help a Roswell citizen, simply because I'm not comfortable in ignoring a recommendation by staff.
All right. I understand the staff obviously is very familiar with the Motorola equipment. That's what you've been using. That's what the Fulton County system is. So obviously they're very familiar with that equipment and what they have to offer. I know Captain Sweeney is very familiar with what we have to offer. I think more so probably than anybody within any of the other cities. But again, we have a solution. We have over 70 references out there that have this type of system that you're looking to put in, and all we're asking for is an additional 90 to 120 days to take a look and bid the equipment. Again, that state contract that you're buying off of was not a competitively bid state contract, and so all we can do is ask for that opportunity.
Thank you. Councilmember Wynn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Captain Sweeney, you and I have had long conversations on this. Would you just, kind of clarify what's been said tonight? Because I know there's a technology called TDMA. Am I correct on that?
That's correct.
So, again, I believe in competitive bids also, but when I see 6 cities standing there and saying this is where we should go, and we are kind of like on a deadline, especially with Fulton County, telling us, we're going to quadruple your the pay that you're doing right now, or get your own system, so we're going with our own system. Could you kind of enlighten the audience about the reason why Motorola is your preferred, not just your preferred, but the 6 cities' preferred over Motorola?
Yes. The frequencies in Atlanta are not available other than a group called 700 megahertz. And the Federal Communications Commission has required that all 700 megahertz frequencies within the next 3 years be moved to a technology called TDMA, which in effect doubles the capacity of the system and makes better use of the resources that they've licensed us. There's only really 2 companies out there that make TDMA technology as far as for the public safety in the trunk environment, and that is Motorola and Harris. Motorola has many installed TDMA systems, which is also referred to as Phase 2 systems. P25 Phase 2, and I've learned today that Harris, we had an earlier meeting this day, that Harris has some P25 Phase 2s, although we haven't had a chance to talk with those people, and they're relatively new installs operational. One of which is in Floyd County, and the other one is in Bibb. Yeah, and that was just a recent award of a contract. The purpose of, at the request of the council, we met today. It was scheduled for Friday, and Alfreda was there also. And our review was more technical than it was as far as contractual. But the review of the original review that we had with Motorola on the system laid it out, and they showed us a list of systems that were up and running locally within the 5-state region. I believe they have 26 TDMA systems up and running, and they interface with some others. And quite honestly, I know Harris Corporation is a big Defense Department vendor, but their strength in public safety has not been great through the years, although Motorola really has their footprint in public safety and not so much in defense. So from a technical aspect, looking at the review of what I had in front of me, basically I don't see any real distinct advantage that Harris has over Motorola, nor any significant disadvantage from what I was able to see today. Now, I haven't talked with anybody about this, but I can say that the one thing that still steers me and keeps my recommendation for Motorola is that we are surrounded by other Motorola agencies. I dare say there's 15 systems in Metro Atlanta, disparate systems from federal systems to state and local government, and we are the only one. We're surrounded. We're an island. And if we were to go with an alternate vendor, it would make it very difficult for us, in my opinion, both politically and possibly technology-wise, to work with other agencies to try to get a concurrent system where our officers could roam seamlessly. As an example, Cobb County has mutual aid with our fire department. They come to us, we come to them, and if we didn't have a good working relationship with the vendor at Cobb County, or the person that runs the system, or Cobb County government, and if they had to point a finger at another vendor as being the problem, that would slow the progress down, the whole process. I'm sorry.
So, you're very, very confident that Motorola is the way to go. I know you've been looking at this for about 5 years now, approximately 5. And, I ask you this question, is this going to be a system we grow into and not grow out of? Because one I don't want to do is come back here, not say I'm going to be on council, but any council member come back here and find out that the system is obsolete. So my guarantee from you is what, Mr. Sweeney, Captain Sweeney?
That it is not going to be obsolete, that it's going to be with us for at least 10 years to grow with and take us into the future.
And this is a system that we can add on to with the updates, upgrades, anything else that we need?
Yes,
and you're
ma'am.
confident on that one?
Yes,
okay,
ma'am.
thank you, sir.
Does the council have any other questions? Do we have a motion?
Do it again, motion to approve the IGA.
We have a motion to approve the IGA. Did we get a second?
Yes, sir.
And we had a second. Anyone else in the audience wish to have any questions or comments? Any further discussion? But yes, Councilmember Price.
So the IGA, though, is really just an agreement among our cities, and the determination of such things as what carrier to go with, et cetera. I mean, how is that determined among the cities?
Kay, would you respond to that?
Yes, this is an agreement to allow us as a unit with Sandy Springs taking the lead to procure either through statewide contract agreements that are in place to go out with an RFP for certain non-contractual services, to work with the consultant to secure licenses and finalize tower sites. So there will be many other aspects that will be coming back to each governing body related to contracts. However, as it relates to the vendor for the equipment itself, Motorola is what this agreement contemplates for us to move forward with system design. Like's been said here a number of times, I've been involved for almost 3 years. And 3 years ago, Harris was absolutely in play and did a presentation for a group of my counterparts as well as a technical advisory group that our public safety folks sit on. So there have been multiple groups who have gone through and vetted this out along the way. Mr. Prindle, you may have gotten brought on board later in the process, and certainly that places you at a great disadvantage of trying to get up to speed and get integrated into the process. But at the time, there were specifications developed by the technical advisory group, by our consultant, of people who do this for a living. And we deemed that Motorola was the most responsive design and equipment for us to use to build this system. So my idea, based on my understanding of the IGA, is not that we would not be coming back to discuss with you the vendor. We would be moving forward with procurement related to Motorola. The other things where a contract is required for the RFPs or tower site selections or licenses, we would be coming back because each individual body would have to make those approvals individually per the IGA.
Does that answer your question?
I'm not sure where it specifies in the contract how equipment is determined.
I believe the only reference would be on page 2 under capitalization. It describes how much, but it doesn't, the IGA does not specifically mention Motorola or Harris or any
If we take this vote
brand.
tonight, will this come back to council to reconsider Harris or Motorola, or do we move forward with Motorola? Ms. Love?
We would move forward with Motorola because we are utilizing a state contract that is already in place, that has already been, that pricing is already competitive pricing. There is an article number 8 regarding procurement. It doesn't speak to the vendor related to all procurement, but in the work session that presentation was made on December the 10th, there was the pricing of things that were on contract. And I believe that is, Chief Grant, you have that as a slide.
If we vote tonight, we're approving an IGA and we'll move forward with Motorola under that price.
Correct.
It may not be expressed, but it's not going to come back to this council unless the council wishes to. So
Correct.
if we vote tonight, it's going to move forward with Motorola.
Correct.
If you have any hesitancy about that, you need to think it. But if you vote tonight, we're moving forward with Motorola.
And that's because Sandy Springs will make that determination?
That's because all the cities have made that determination. It is a concurrence, a unanimous concurrence of the staff of every city to pick Motorola. So if we move this forward, it's Motorola. All right, we have any other questions? We've heard from the public. Any further discussion by council? We have a motion to approve the IGA, which would include Motorola. All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimous. Well, Ms. Diamond, passes unanimously. All right, the city attorney has advised me that I forgot to get a motion and a second on the solar panel. So without having the full discussion, do we have a motion to adopt the solar panel contract, Mr. Orleans?
Yeah, move to approve item 9 regarding the solar panels.
Do I have a second? Second by Councilmember Diamond. All in favor raise their hands. Passes unanimously. Do I have a motion for closure? Motion by Councilmember Wynn, second by Councilmember Diamond. All in favor of closure, raise your hands. We have a motion and a second for closure. All in favor of closure to discuss items of real estate, raise your hands. There was a motion and a second. We don't discuss this, we just vote. Well, you can say it after we take this vote. All in favor of the motion for closure, raise your hands. Councilman Orleans, are you abstaining?
Yes, sir.
We've got an abstention. We've got 5 votes in favor with Councilman Orleans abstaining. Councilmember Price, your comment or question was?
Yeah, regarding the consent agenda, which not everyone in the room knows what we pass on that, although I guess they can read it, but we don't go through it item by item. But there was one on the resolution for recertification of Roswell as a city of ethics, which I think is admirable. And I guess I would love to see that like on our walls somewhere or something, so it could be a reminder.
Branded on your forehead.
Yes, exactly. So that people, us included, could see that in numerous locations. That
one location would be enough. Councilman Eichelhardt doesn't want sign clutter.
I just think it's wonderful, and we should be reminded from time to time. Thank you.
We'll make sure that we get the certificate posted in a prominent place. We're adjourned. No, you don't have to come. You don't have to come.